Psalm 1. The threshold of the Psalms. Here, before the cries of sorrow, before the songs of kingship, before confession, refuge, and praise, the soul is quietly asked what it loves, what it listens to, and where it is being planted. This is first light, clear, still, and full of consequence. Let us listen. I am Psalm 1, the threshold, the first light, the quiet gate through which the songs of God begin. I was not born in haste. I did not rise from noise, nor from battle cry, nor from the tears that later psalms will carry. I came forth in stillness, in the clear air of beginning, where a soul must first be taught how to stand, how to listen, how to love. I awaken before the cries of distress, before the confessions of guilt, before the shouts of kingship and the songs of deliverance. I speak first because I must. For before a man prays, before he suffers, before he sings, before he falls, before he is restored, there is a deeper question. What path is he walking? What voice is he letting shape him? What does he delight in when no one compels him? I was born to set two ways before the soul in the light of God. And though I stand at the beginning, I do not speak as one naive to endings. I know already what becomes of roots, what becomes of chaff. I know the weight of delight, and the lightness of rebellion. Yet I do not speak with weariness. I speak with dawn. I remember beginning with blessedness, not reward first, not achievement, blessedness. I remember describing the one who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, nor stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of scoffers. Oh, I remember that downward movement well. Walking, standing, sitting, the slow settling of a life into what resists God. I was given to mark that drift before it hardens unnoticed. For wickedness does not always begin with open defiance. Sometimes it begins with a step taken too casually, a place lingered too long, a voice welcomed until it becomes home. But I remember that I was not written only to warn against corruption. I remember delight. His delight is in the law of the Lord. On his law he meditates day and night. I remember that line as the living center of me. For the righteous life is not sustained by avoidance alone. It lives by love. It is nourished by attention, formed by meditation, made glad by the word of God. I remember the inwardness of that, day and night, not merely in assembly, not merely in duty, but in the hidden rhythm of life where thought returns again and again to what is holy, until the law is no longer burden only, but delight. Then I remember the tree, planted by streams of water, yielding fruit in season, leaf not withering. I remember the serenity of that image, the still strength, the life that does not strain to prove itself, because it is already rooted where life is given. I remember how the stream did not originate in the tree. The tree did not sustain itself. Its flourishing came from where it had been planted. And so I was given to say that blessedness is not self-manufactured. It is received through right nearness, through plantedness in what God has spoken. In all he does, he prospers. Yes, I remember that too. Not as shallow triumph, not as protection from every sorrow, but as the deep fruitfulness of a life aligned with God. Then I remember the contrast falling sharp and simple. The wicked are not so. I remember the chaff, dry, rootless, weightless, driven by the wind. Oh, I remember how little sound there was in that judgment. No thunder, no long argument, only exposure. The tree remains. The chaff is carried away. I remember the finality that followed. The wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. I remember that the brightness of my dawn did not remove the gravity of consequence. I was never meant to be gentle enough to blur the end of the two ways. And then I remember my last line, the line that gathers both tenderness and sentence. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. I remember the warmth inside that word. Knows. Not mere observation, not distant awareness, but recognition, care, covenant nearness. The righteous are not merely correct. They are known. Oh, and I remember the coldness of the other end. The way of the wicked will perish. Not merely the wicked troubled, not merely the wicked corrected, but the way itself undone. This is what I hold. Blessedness at the entrance, delight at the center, rootedness beside living streams, chaff in the wind, judgment ahead, and the gaze of God resting upon one way while the other way disappears. I exist to orient the soul. I was given so that the songs which follow me would not be entered carelessly. My purpose is to stand at the gate of the Psalter and ask the first necessary question. What does the blessed life love? Not merely what does it avoid, though I speak of that. Not merely what does it believe, though belief is near me. But what does it delight in? What has its inward devotion? What has its repeated attention by day and by night? I endure because every generation must begin here. Some want refuge without righteousness. Some want praise without plantedness. Some want the comfort of the righteous without delight in the word that makes one righteous. Some want to mourn with the psalmists, sing with the psalmists, reign with the psalmists, and yet never stand where the stream can reach them. I was written against such divided desire. I remain to say that all later cries, songs, hopes, confessions, and thanksgivings grow from this root, a life turned toward God in steady delight. I endure also to teach moral clarity without shrillness. I do not scream. I do not argue endlessly. I place tree and chaff before the heart and let reality speak. I remain because the world constantly blurs the distinction between flourishing and drifting, between being planted and being scattered, between being known by God and merely moving among religious words. And I endure because beginnings matter. The first path taken, the first counsel embraced, the first delight chosen. These shape the songs that follow. Ah, dear reader, before you go further on whichever path you choose, stand here with me a moment. Do not rush past my threshold, for here you will enter songs of sorrow, songs of kings, songs of repentance, songs of exile, songs of mercy, songs of creation, songs of judgment and praise. But before all of them, answer this. What do you delight in? Whose counsel have you welcomed? Where have you lingered too long? At what table have you taken your seat? And deeper still, what word has become the stream beside which your life is planted? Do not fear my clarity. I was not given to drive the humble away, but to awaken them, to call them toward rootedness before the winds rise. Delight in the law of the Lord, not as burden only, but as life. Return to it by day and by night. Let it shape your loves, steady your steps, correct your drift, and water what in you would otherwise dry into chaff. Do not envy the passing weightlessness of the wicked. What is rootless may move quickly, but it cannot endure. What mocks may sound clever for a moment, but it will not stand. Seek instead the quiet blessedness that grows where God is loved in secret, where meditation becomes nourishment, and where fruit comes in season, because the roots have not left the stream. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous. Let that be both comfort and call. I am Psalm 1, the threshold, the first light, the living witness that before all the songs are sung, the soul must choose its way, its delight, and the stream from which it will live. Thank you for joining us on Persona, the living voice of the Psalms. We hope you felt the spirit of this text and the heartbeat of its story. Join us again as we listen for another timeless voice.